So good to see you guys. So, and everyone watching as well. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes for this song and just really open up your heart. I recognize the presence of the divine in this moment, in this room, at this moment in time where space and time just is. That everything that it is in this moment is God and only God. This presence of love, of peace, of harmony. Everything that exists and is. Everything that I am is God. In this moment, I know that this is the truth for me as it is for everyone here, and those are the sound of my voice. And I know this moment and this service, the music, and everything that is going to be said, and it is said, it is done. For God is everything that exists. And I bless this moment. I'm grateful for it. For I know God is all. And I just let it be. And so it is.
Good morning. First of all, thank you so much, Sylvia, for that beautiful invitation. And for your meditation this morning. And thank you, Juliana and Mike. Fantastic. Love that song. Love everything you guys do. I am Don Taylor. I'm a practitioner on the board of the church, and this morning I'm your host. It is an honor and a pleasure to welcome you this morning. CSL TV is an inclusive, welcoming, spiritual community. We realize that everything in this life is spiritual, and we are connected and supported by the presence and the power that we all call God. So it is in the spirit of love and light that I welcome you here this morning. And if you're new at CSL TV, I invite you to sign our register in the breezeway and get on our mail-in list. We send a mail-in once a week describing the events that we have here at the center. And finally, I just want to say that we truly, truly are grateful that you are here. And so I turn it back to Juliana and Mother.
All right, this one's gonna need you guys. A little beat here if you want to get up on your feet. This will be a call and response. So I'll start it. Hey. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me love, let me love. Yeah. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Let me know that love is all around. Oh, let me know that love is all around. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Let me live. Oh, let me learn from all the ways I fall. Oh, let me know that love can heal us all. Oh, let me know that love can heal us all. So say, oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me live in a holy, holy way. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. One more time. Oh, let me love in a holy, holy way. Holy, holy way. Awesome.
This is a time in our service for our moment of gratitude, when we pause in our day and call forward something that we are grateful for. It's a powerful spiritual practice that can shift your outlook, your mood, your experience of the day. It's simple and it can be done anywhere at any time. So this morning I'll invite you to close your eyes and connect with your breath. And just pause here for a moment and invite some stillness in your mind and your body. I invite you to take a moment to be grateful for something in the world that brings you joy. And breathe that into your heart and let it grow and expand as you rest in the warmth and the love of it. And when you're ready, gently begin to come back to this moment and this time. And when you're ready, Open your eyes. Again, gratitude is a simple spiritual practice that can change your mood, your experience for the day, whenever you engage in it. And so now we'll have our reading by Sylvia.
This reading is from Ernest Holmes' home study course in the letter from him to the student at the beginning of week 48. God is all there is. There's nothing else, whether it be a bird, a beast, a fish, a tree, a man, or an archangel. God is still all there is. All things are manifestation of the one presence, the one power, and the one life. This is the secret of secrets. The thought and the idea of God must become warm and intimate and colorful in your consciousness. A sense of the indwelling presence must be real and immediate, for there is no there, only here. There is no then, only now. Not tomorrow, only today. There's no place where you, the individual I, lives off, and God, the universal I am, begins. To you, there's only God and God in you, and the two are one. Seek, then, to cultivate this divine indwelling presence, for it will respond to you, and you will know that you are not alone. For it will respond to you, and you will know that you're not alone. You're not alone. May all the power in the universe be with you, even as the divine light casts its radiance before you, and infinite love guides you on your way. And so it is.
This is a special request from Miss Sharon.
One power, one power, one power. There's one power invisible, and you see it everywhere and every day. And one power indescribable, and you speak of it with every word you say. Mysterious until you know the truth, as simple as the love inside of you. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, angels' wings or heaven's doors. But whatever thing you call it, it's one power, can't you see? It's the power of the love inside of you and me. One power, one power. different clothing, different colors, and different names. But different is only dangerous when we forget that in our hearts we're all the same. And remember, once you close your eyes, that such distances were never meant to be. Calling God, calling Spirit, calling Jesus, calling Lord, calling Buddha, Ahahula, angels' wings on heaven's doors. It's my calling, it's our mind, it's our soul, and it's our sign. It's the universe, it's music, it's Father Time. Whatever name you call it, it's all the same, can't you see? It's one power, whatever name you give it, it's one power, and it's a love inside of you and me. One power, one power.
One power. I hadn't heard that one. Beautiful. It is my honor and pleasure this morning to introduce to you our guest speaker for today. Reverend Sarah Adams is a licensed minister with Centers for Spiritual Living. She was raised in Science of Mind, and some of her favorite memories were attending Youth of Religious Science teen camps and being one of the founding members of Agape's Vision Essence Youth Group. As an adult, Reverend Sarah spent her early professional life building roads and bridges as an Army engineer and has been an educator and a school leader for close to 20 years. She has a master's degree in teaching as well as a master's degree in consciousness studies. She has a passion for people and building community, believing every being has a unique gift and life path that supports greater and greater revelations of truth. Her mission is to live life awakened to the consciousness behind all forms, with an ear to the still small voice, a heart for our shared community, and an eye for the universal arc of transformation unfolding as each of us. So please join me in welcoming Reverend Sarah Adams.
Thank you, Don. Thank you. And it's so great to be here. And thank you for the beautiful music, Joanna, right? And Mike, thank you. I love that song with from Daniel Namode. Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. I thank you for welcoming me back. It's always wonderful to be in a spiritual community with people who are here intentionally, consciously seeking for their own transformation and the healing in themselves and for the transformation of our world around us. So what a place to be on a Sunday morning, right? It's so wonderful. So it's good to be here. You can hear me okay? Okay, let me move this up a little bit. All right, awesome. Good, okay. Well, today, or this month, I think the theme has been wonder and relationships. And today we're talking about the wonder of the relationship with the one and only. And it's interesting that's actually been a theme of mine this year, is really feeling into the relationship with the divine, with the universe. I had an intention this last year or so that I wanted to experience partnership, and like a primary relationship partnership. And I realized that being in Science of Mind, that means I needed to really embody that experience and feel into it. And so it became like, how can I partner with the universe? How can I partner with God? What does it feel like to feel loved and accepted and belonging to something? What does it feel like to have something show, or someone, or the universe show up for me, have God show up for me, and for me to show up for God? What does that feel like? And so it came to where I just had that practice of like looking and seeking partnership wherever I went. How is the universe partnering with me? Oh, someone just picked up my coffee for me at Starbucks. Thank you, universe, for partnering with me. Oh, I was looking for something. I didn't know where to find it. All of a sudden, it showed up right when I needed it in the exact place I looked at the time I needed it. So thank you, universe. Thank you, God, for showing up. So, and then how can I show up for God? So it really came to feel like a devotional relationship. And it's interesting in Science of Mind, I had this discussion with one of my teachers in ministerial school that sometimes, when there's like three parts of speech or three perspectives when you're reading something or an author can be writing from, and there's that first person perspective, the I perspective. And I think in Science of Mind, we have that, the I am. We know to speak from the I am. We're clear that there's an individualized presence right where I am. And then there's like the third person perspective, like when we know that there's this impersonal universal law that's always working. And we do our affirmative prayer, it's always with that perspective, that it is happening through us all the time, realizing that. And sometimes I don't know that we always get to the you perspective, that second perspective. We do that intentionally in some ways because we don't want to pray to somebody. We don't want to say, God, you please do this for me. We want to embody it where we are. But I think sometimes we lose that devotional aspect of a thou, of a thee, that loving reciprocal relationship. And so that's what that feeling is for me, is that loving, being loved and accepted and whole right where I am and right where everyone is. That there is, that like we spoke about in the reading and in the song, that there is an infinite presence that's individualized, that's seeking to express in everything, in every person, in every place and circumstance. So how can we remember that and live into relationship with that? Ernest Holmes says in the 365 Science of Mind, he calls it the beauty of form, that the beauty of form around me is the garment of God. Like everything is the garment of God, that he knows that the presence is manifested in my heart and my mind. It's God expressing in the garment of form. And then as I feel this presence more and more, I hear the song of joy deep within me. Always when I'm still, I hear the song of life pouring through my consciousness. I have only to listen, for it is always there. So how would it feel like to feel like there's a song of life singing through us? There's something that wants to know itself as only it can right where we are. There's a song that Joanna is going to sing later that I requested from Ricky Byers, but there's a lyric in it that's been with me the last week or two, and it says, when there was no time, and before there was a number, spirit did prevail in a song of ecstasy. And before I had a dream or a lesson to remember, spirit gently held the song inside of me. So what does it feel like to feel like there's this infinite loving presence that's gently holding this song inside of each of us? Doesn't that feel like a loving felt experience of just wholeness and acceptance and being loved right where you are? I think that's the essence of the relationship with the one and only. If we can live into that in each moment, how can we? Or how can I bring that forward in every moment, in every interaction? And it really means, so for me, with thinking about that and this journey I've been on and trying to seeking the experience of partnership with the universe, the first part that I think is important for that is to seek it. And to look for it, because we find what we're looking for. So if I'm always looking for ways to feel partnered and supported by the universe, I will find it. If I seek that relationship with the divine, it will show up if I'm looking for it. So it's the context that we have in Science of Mind, that life is for us, that the universe is for us, that everything is conspiring on our behalf for a greater and greater experience of good, a greater and greater transformation into more and more expressions of God as us. I had a chance I was at a family event with some family friends, and Michael Beckwith was there, and he was talking about the ideas of evolution. And so in a traditional idea of evolution, we think that that species or whoever is confronted with a limitation or a constriction, and then we adapt out of that. And spiritually, we know that as kind of like a spiritual 2x4. The universe kind of hits you up with something that was super painful, and so it was too painful to stay in that place, and so it forced you to change and grow. And that's perfectly great as a form of evolution. But then there's like the next level of evolution, which is like active evolution, spiritual evolution, where we seek it and know that we intentionally look at everything that happens to us as an opportunity to grow, that everything we encounter is serving our good. So that's that when we seek to let no moment, no experience go wasted. Let everything serve our awakening. Let everything serve a deeper experience of a relationship with the one. That is spiritual evolution. That's where we want to step into that moment so that we can wake up every day and ask Spirit to let everything serve my good today. Let everything serve my awakening for myself and for everyone around me. Let me bring a greater experience of light in every situation and every person I encounter. So that's that experience of relationship that I want to seek, that partnership with the one and only. So, and sometimes I think it's challenging because we are going to encounter those situations where we're feeling our humanness, where we feel reactive, where something really triggers us and we get caught in an old story or an old pattern, or we encounter a dysfunctional scenario again and again. And it's for us to at least have the intention to have that awaken us in some way. I was listening to a interview with this woman. Her name's Cole Arthur Riley. She's an author and speaker. And she's this beautiful Black woman who wrote, her latest book is This Here Flesh, and it's about really being present in the moment. She happens to be, her title is Spiritual Teacher in Residence at Cornell University, and I thought, I would love that title, Spiritual Teacher in Residence. But she's talking about this experience of how do I bring it here and now? She grew up in traditional Christianity, which had kind of this idea of not of this world, like, you know, none of this matters, that it's really the afterlife, like it's not here. But she's thinking like, well, if this is all God and God created this whole experience, how can this not be God? How can this not be heaven right here and now? How can I experience it in this here flesh, which is the premise of her book? So she goes on to tell a story of when she was young, she was mute. She didn't speak for the early years of her childhood. And she also, around age 5 or 6, she developed a condition where she had a few gray hairs start showing up on her head. And she agonized in front of the mirror, just trying to like get the part just right to hide this gray hair. And she would spend hours. And there was one time her family was getting ready to go somewhere, and they were all in the car. And her dad came out and came up the stairs and he just asked her, how much time do you need? And she just lost it, and she went into this tantrum and throwing things, and I hate my hair, I hate my face, I hate my body, I hate this, throwing her comb across the room. And she says, won't you please let me dye my hair? And he just simply goes to her and holds her close and says, of course. And he just accepts her where she is. And she said that was transformative for her because he was giving her love and acceptance in the moment that she was feeling most separate and most reactive and most angry about who she was. And it was that acceptance and love that allowed her to transform and move through that experience. And it never was an issue again for her. So I think about when we're in that, even when we're in that most like reactive or flawed, or there's that part of us that we just can't stand, like even in that moment, can something move through us? Can we tap into an experience of love, or let someone show up as love for us that allows us to grow through that experience? So this experience of partnership, really, if we're seeking it, it will come through us. And then sometimes when it comes to us, it may be hard to open up to it. And so that's the next part I think is important, is to be willing to be willing. I don't know if you've heard that term before. My dad used to say it to me a lot. He grew up with est and landmark and things. So that was a saying a lot. So even if I couldn't like see it in the moment, even if I'm caught up in my own tantrum and just can't stand whatever is happening, if I'm willing to be willing, I at least am open to the idea that something could come through me, that something could heal in this moment. and I could have some space for myself when I'm going through whatever this is. Has anyone ever had a situation where you just, you're caught in it one more time and you're going around that circle one more time, those reactions or those habits that you wish you would have healed in the last workshop or the last counseling session? Yeah. So being willing to be willing. So I had this experience. I'm seeking this experience of partnership. So, there's a saying by Ram Dass that says, if you think you're enlightened, spend a week with your family. Well, I have one even better, which is, if you think you're enlightened, try adventures in online dating. So, seriously, every possible fear and insecurity gets right up close and personal to be looked at, not only for myself, but whoever I'm meeting, all their stuff gets projected on me too. So that's been a whole adventure in itself. And I'll just say I'm in a partnership now, so it all worked out. But so there is a moment when I was going to meet someone, and we had talked about connecting on a Friday after work, and he had some things he was doing, I had some things, and we had agreed on a time to get together. And so that time came, and I texted, I'm done, I'm ready, are you ready? And no response. And then, 30 minutes later, so hey, are we still connecting? No response. And then I call, and no answer. And so in the absence of information, my mind can fill in those blanks with a lot of stories. So I don't know if anybody else has had that experience where you have a blank and you're just going to fill it in with maybe the worst case scenario, the worst judgments. Maybe somebody said something and you've decided it meant something, the worst possible interpretation. So I found myself just really going down this rabbit hole of everything, every possible mental machination, whether it was like a catastrophic something or like he's just going to ghost me and I'm never going to hear from him again. And, and all these judgments. And at some point I realized I am caught in this whirlwind, this whirlpool of negative thinking and I also just in that moment though, because, being on a spiritual path, you have the intention to awaken to things. So you have the intention to be aware and awake as much as you can. So when things happen like that, there could be a little pause where that awareness comes through and notices that you're in it. And the minute you notice that you're in it, you're not actually in it anymore because you're the awareness that's observing it. So I got that one little moment of grace that I could observe where I was, and I could just have some space for myself, just like Cole's dad had for her, oh, you're just caught up in this right now. And I and it's reasonable. I have some trauma and some stuff from way back that, out pictures during this time. There's a saying in 12-step that if it's hysterical, it's historical. So I was like, it's really not about this one moment right now, is it? It's really not. And so just giving some space for ourselves, being willing to have something heal is all the space we need to allow that wisdom to come through, to allow that encounter to serve a greater awakening for us. And so that's what happened for me. I had the aha, oh, I am on a journey and adventure of partnership with God. And God is just in form or in drag or in skin, whoever I'm meeting in front of me. It's not about them. And that person or that situation is certainly not my source of love and connection. God is my source of love and connection. And I can have that felt experience of being held and loved wherever I am, regardless of who I'm with or whatever happens in the situation that we're in. And so it was just that opening enough to be willing to allow that to serve me. So I was able to get out of the eddy of the negative thinking and the old habits and pop out of that and be open to that. So the third thing I think that helps us cultivate this relationship with the divine, this one and only, to see it everywhere that we are, is to once we are awake enough and we see it, to savor it. So if we have those encounters that we feel connected, that we feel a moment of love, where maybe it's a moment of grace where someone holds truth for us and when we weren't able to hold it for ourselves. If we can remember that and savor it, it helps establish a neurological pattern and a practice in our own thinking that will return to that experience time and again. It's something I learned about in one of my classes with science and spirituality in the brain, that our brain wants to return to the same things that we savor and focus on. So when we can catch a moment when we feel that aha, or we feel belonging to something more than ourselves, or we feel loved or accepted, or maybe we're just in our moment, like we have our thing and we're around all the people who do that same thing and we just feel belonging. I mean, I'm thinking about this, like there was Comic-Con last weekend. There was all kinds of people in their thing, like they have their own expression. And how great is it to be around all the other people who are in their thing and their expression? So savor it. Where can we feel it and let that sink in for us? There's a poem that brought this to mind. I was reading the other day by Chilan Harkin, and she says, "I am certain that if God is anything, they are a transgendered autistic Black being who was so excited with reptiles they made dinosaurs ascendant for millions of years. I am certain that if God is anything, she is a great lover of science, the genius behind the motivation to make quarks and nuclear fusion, elemental reactions and orbits. I am certain that if God is anything, she is a wild painter with ADHD who will not stop her creative impulses to pour her muse all over existence to tend to trivial matters." And then she goes on to finish by saying, "I am certain that if God is anything, it is a child that has not for an instant been interested in wrath, whose single commandment is to discover your tenderness, whose since time immemorial has been invoking your original joy." So I think if we can touch into our original joy, then we can touch into that partnership and relationship with the divine. Whatever it is for each of us, it's something unique and different. There's a divine idea that wants to sing itself through you. There is a divine idea that's unique and can only be expressed through you. So when you touch into what it is that you are passionate about, that brings you joy, that makes you alive, or even when you remember as a kid that those times where you were just caught up in wonder and there was no sense of anything other than belonging to the moment, you can savor that and let that be your original joy. Let that be the source of the felt embodiment of this relationship with the one and only. Ernest Holmes says, "There is one spirit diffused through all humanity. With this spirit in everyone I hold communion. In a hand clasp, I feel its warmth and color. In the exchange of thought, I feel the presence and the activity of the divine mind. In the blessing of friendship, I sense its love. I am separated from none, united with all, and one with the eternal light itself. As I go among people, I know that the presence of pure spirit within me, which I recognize, blesses everyone I meet, tends to heal everything I touch, brings gladness into the life of everyone I contact. Therefore, I am a blessing to myself, to humankind, and to every day in which I live." Let's live into that. You know, even when we may encounter somebody or a situation that's difficult, maybe we are talking with somebody who has radically different ideas than ourselves and we're finding it hard to find a common ground. Can we be willing to let some light of wisdom shine through that allows us to feel the presence of God in ourselves and in that other person in that experience? Is there something that allows us to step into and allow a greater understanding and feeling of belonging to come through? Or even to hold space for somebody. Maybe you are the person who could be like Cole's father, where someone is in their moment and you can just give them the dignity of their process. They're struggling and you can just hold space for them and know that they're transforming and unfolding the way that they need to in all the time and space they need. Just holding space and grace for someone is a way of being embodied in that oneness of the universe, of the divine, right where you are. So I'll leave us with that. Let us seek and tend to the relationship with the divine, with ourselves, with each other, with the world, really embodying that, knowing that it's everywhere, present all the time, in every possible encounter and expression that we see. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
before there was a number, Spirit did prevail in a song of ecstasy. And before I had a dream or a lesson to remember, Spirit gently held the song inside of me. So I sing a song of joy, sing a song of knowing all is truly well, and that heaven is at hand. And sometimes I may cry that I don't know where I'm going, but God's love does prevail, 'cause God's love only can. And when there was no time, and before there was a number, Spirit did prevail in a song of ecstasy. And before I had a dream or a lesson to remember, Spirit gently held the song inside of me. So I sing a song of joy, I sing a song of higher, all is truly well. And compassion is the plan. Sometimes I may cry that the world is such a liar, but God's love does prevail, as God's love only can. When there was no time, and before there was no love, Spirit did prevail in a song of ecstasy. And before I had a dream or a lesson to remember, Spirit gently held the song inside of me. Oh, yeah, yeah. There's a song inside of me. Oh, yeah. There's a song inside of me. And I know, there's a song inside of me. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. There's a song inside of you. There's a song inside of you.
This is the time and I'd like to thank all of our volunteers and service time. It is through our financial support that CSLTV can continue to offer services and offers to inspire and support us all to live a full life. We're grateful for your So, please join me as we know that this offering we are each a channel of giving and receiving. As we give, there he is. This is the law of the universal. How good it is to know that we are of God. I know that this offering multiplies and expands and the literally record God down. So I simply raise. Please join me in reciting our affirmation. I am loved, secure, blessed, all that I am, all that I give, all that I receive. I am
God is my source, God is my power, God gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. God gives me everything I need. Joy is my source, joy is my power. Joy gives me everything I need. So I give thanks for all my blessings. Joy gives me everything I need.
We have a few announcements for this morning. First of all, healing circles with Reverend Sharon on Zoom begin Tuesday evening, August 2nd, this Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. And then Friday morning, beginning August 5th at 11 a.m. Join us for a time of connection and confidential sharing during this time of transition. The Zoom link is in our weekly evening. Join us Sunday, August 14th, at the service of everything you ever wanted. Now, putting you member center in our philosophy. This meeting is less than an hour. Requires forgiveness. All our book study group meets at 10 a.m. on Wednesdays. We are just starting the book. Get confused. Your number. If you would like to join the group, please contact Woodward or the men's ministry meets on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Two Wednesdays in person at Burns Restaurant, and two Wednesdays on Zoom. We recently put the Zoom link on the website for those listening to this all. But because some of the men are working, we are thinking of starting two times so we close everyone on that night. Community connection Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. This is the time of connection, discussion, meditation, and get it into the to find that you're not working or it's not working. Sacred service is a joy. One of these opportunities. You're looking for background. There's that. Assist in drop testing. We're also looking for volunteers. Sunshine. Take something. Take cards. Make calls.
was a time in my life when I had to do it all for myself. I didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. Didn't know the love of God was there. Now I can say, if you want the rest, it's working just to make it through another day. You have to let it go. And is this what you have to say? Say, I'll be easy and I let go. Let the spirit from my life and my heart is open wide. 'Cause I only hear the God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the spirit. Yes, I only hear the God. I release and I let go. Let the spirit from my life. And my heart is open wide, 'cause I only ever got say, no more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the spirit, 'cause I only hear God.
I invite all of our participants to come forward. Thank you. I wanted this group to come on stage because this is the healing line. And if you have anything that is in your mind, your prayer, I invite you to put your request in the box in the back. If you have something for your Father in today in prayer, we have that for you. And so I know that there is only one